The next one?
This is the next pay-per-view WCW Souled Out. Hello and welcome to the two-man Power Trip of Wrestling and the latest podcast. I am your host, JP John Poz. With me, of course, the special guest, the former WCW and WWF Head Writer, the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Vince Russo. Vince, welcome back. How you doing?
What is going on, John? How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Can't complain here. As far as WCW is concerned, we talked about Havoc 99. We talked about Mayhem 99. We talked about Starrcade 99. Now we're heading into 2000 Sold Out. But very interesting, kind of before we get into that, you might not be a part of this pay-per-view. You might be kind of working your way out at this point. What's going on backstage?
Yeah, bro, I'm not. It was probably the Thursday or the Friday before that I walked out. Yeah, I was not a part. This is Benoit winning the title?
Yes.
I was not a part of this.
What was going on? Like, what happened?
Well, you know the story.
Well, I mean, maybe the fans don't. Maybe they don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, the story was, again, John, we talked about this in the last show. There were a lot of injuries, and I had to like almost go in a totally different direction. So it was probably, now that I'm thinking of the timing, we had an emergency creative meeting, and it was probably like maybe the Thursday before. It was that week. It was the week prior. We had an emergency meeting because Bret's not on this show, right?
No, he's injured.
Yeah, so I know. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Bret can't work. So that changed everything. That changed all directions and everything. So we had to get the belt off of Bret. So we had an emergency meeting, bro. Terry, me, Disco, Ed, Borash was probably a part of that. We had an emergency meeting. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So I suggested a battle royal type match. And the game plan was, and again, bro, everything with me is freaking logic and makes sense. And you want to get swerved. You want to get shocked. You want to get the unexpected. So the idea was to have a battle royal, not a battle royal, a Royal Rumble type match. Sid was number one. Okay. So it's 30 people. Sid gets in there. We go through everybody. Sid's the only one in the ring when number 30 comes down. Now, keep in mind, Sid is out of gas, beat to a bloody pulp, not beat to a bloody pulp, just out of gas. He was number one. So he'd been going the whole time. So now Sid is completely off his feet. And here comes number 30, Tank Abbott. Now you got to understand, at the time, Tank Abbott was Tank Abbott. So here's Sid, who just went through 28 other guys. And here comes a fresh as a daisy UFC fighter. And Tank Abbott winds up eliminating Sid. Okay? So where we go from there, I have no idea. I'm writing this stuff on the fly now because Bret's hurt. Yeah, I don't have time to sit down and write the next 3 months. I got to kind of go week to week now and see how this plays out. So, of course, everybody creatively loves it. Great idea, Vince. Good idea. That's what we'll do. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine. So I go back. I write the show. And the next day, I get a call from Bill Bush. And he tells me, he tells me, I think he said, Flair and Hogan are in the office, and I want you to come in so we can talk creative. I knew it was bullshit. I knew Flair and Hogan were not in the office. John, at the same time, I was so sick of the politics that were going on in that company in the first 3 months. On the same day, before I got the call from Bush, I remember calling my lawyer, Frank Smith, and I remember saying to Frank, whatever you got to do, get me out of this contract. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to work here. It was so freaking political. So then I hang up with Frank. I get the call from Bill Bush. I go down to the office, and Bush calls me in his office. Of course, Hogan and Flair are nowhere in sight. So now you're lying to me. Like, right. Really? Like, you're lying to me? So, bro, I swear to God, I sit down with Bush. He's as white as a ghost. Like, as white as a ghost, like scared to death to tell me what he's going to tell me. So the first thing he goes to me is, he goes, is it true you want to put the belt on Tank Abbott? So somebody stooged off that meeting.
Right. Yep.
And I said, yeah, Bill, here's the story. This makes perfect sense. Well, where do you go from there? Bill, I don't know where I go from there because I'm changing game plans right now. We'll see what happens with Tank Abbott, and I'll just go with it. If it's working, we'll go with it. If it's not working, we'll change it. But we need to do something this weekend. So, again, bro, like, just couldn't even talk to me, couldn't look me in the eye. And he goes, listen, man, change of direction. You're going to be part of a committee. That committee consists of Kevin Sullivan, blah, blah, blah. He reeled off a couple of names. Bro, as he's talking, like, in my mind, I'm like, this has to be a sign from heaven because he's breaching my contract. So now I can get out of my contract and they're going to have to pay me. And John, I just spoke to my lawyer an hour earlier. Literally, I was going to leave the money on the table. So Bill went through this whole thing, and I'm like, Bill, I have a contract. My contract states I am head of creative. I have zero interest in being a part of any committee. So I'm going to go home. You need to get together with Brad Siegel, and you need to figure out how you're going to pay me. That's exactly what I said, and I walked out the office. So I walked out the office. I've never seen this pay-per-view that you're talking about. I've never seen it, John. I mean, I was so disgusted and happy and relieved at the same time, because now it's fine, bro. I will sit home and you guys can pay me for the next year and 9 months. Right. No problem whatsoever.
And it kind of all stems from somebody stooging off and them not liking creative and you not wanting to be like, or is it just the politics of the nature of like other people don't like your creative and they are complaining and they want in?
Yeah, it was definitely Sullivan and JJ getting in the ear of Bill Bush without a shadow of a doubt. But keep in mind, at the same time, Flair was buried out in the desert, so he thinks Russo's getting rid of him. I just did the thing with Hogan and Sting. Hogan thinks Russo's getting rid of him. Hogan and Flair are Sullivan guys. So, yeah, I mean, you can clearly see the case. And I'm like, bro, this is great, man. If after 3 months you're going to pay me to go and sit home, you're not going to get an argument from me.
Fair enough. And obviously Tank Abbott, it's very legitimate.
Of course it was, bro. And that's the way I set it up. Sid was number one. 28 guys are eliminated. He's out of gas, waiting to see who's next. And here comes a fresh as a daisy, UFC fight. And bro, I believe it was literally like one punch and Sid went over the top. Totally logical, totally legitimate.
So the rumor kind of going into this before the injuries, of course, Bret Hart versus Goldberg rematch for the WCW title. Is that true? And who's going over?
I can't remember. I'm sure it is. And Bret's definitely going over. Bro, I am so trying to repair Bret and the damage that was done. No doubt Bret's going over.
You like him as a heel versus a babyface?
Well, you gotta understand, John. I'm the last time I worked with Bret was that Canada stuff. And oh my God, was he
Awesome.
so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, man, at that time, I'm definitely thinking heel.
Definitely one of the best heels. That's some of the best heel work I've ever seen.
Agree.
And I've been watching wrestling 40 years. Yeah.
I
so
agree,
good.
bro. I agree. And people say Bret Hart couldn't cut a promo. Come on, man.
No,
that
he was the best promo in the business for a year. Yeah.
That was great stuff, man.
Yeah. Some other guys that they say are good promos. I'm like, I've never heard them have a good promo as far as Bret was a good promo for a year, like the best promo in wrestling for a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So Goldberg, obviously, he's going to get hurt. Bret Hart's going to get hurt. Just you have so many injuries going
Jeff
on. And
got hurt too. That was the one, bro, because Jeff never gets hurt. And bro, the only reason I knew about that was because, bro, I was very tight with Jeff and his wife. His wife had to call me to tell me. Jeff was not going to tell me, bro. Snooker came off the cage and concussed Jeff.
Yep.
And his wife called me. And like, that was like, oh my God, like when it rains, it pours. And bro, that was the thing. It's like, John, there's no excuses. There's always injuries in wrestling. You know that. But this is a total change of plans that is going to take me some time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be able to sit here now and tell you, okay, Bret's out, Goldberg's out, Jeff's out. This is what I'm going to do for the next 3 months. No, bro, I got to worry about the show that weekend and, Nitro the next night. Then once those shows are in the can and I got room to breathe, now we can go back and kind of figure out where we're going.
Now, we talked about Benoit. Obviously, he's going to win the title, not Tank Abbott. And obviously, that's not your booking. But would you have made Benoit the world champion?
No. And bro, the whole reason behind that was those guys were so freaking pissed when they got to TV and found out I wasn't there. And Sullivan was trying to appease them. Yep. That he thought putting the belt on Benoit was going to make everybody happy, and obviously it did not.
And Sullivan told me a great story with Sid. Sid didn't want to do it. He said, this guy's too small or whatever. He's like, you're talking to the booker who's the same size as him. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, so Sid's like making fun of Benoit being small to Sullivan who's short.
Yeah.
Like,
well, think about it too, bro. Think about it. I was doing everything up to that point to make Sid look strong. Think about it. So now that's Sid's mindset, the way, oh my God, like Goldberg beat me to a bloody mess. I didn't quit, like that's his mindset. And now you want me to lose to Benoit. So Benoit's going over, but how's Sid being protected?
Right. So,
and I don't even know how he was protected. Cause like I said, John, I've never watched this pay-per-view.
Oh, we'll go over it. So Benoit wouldn't have been champion, obviously. Now, powers that be, how would you have ended that storyline as far as that is concerned, like with the powers that be?
I have no idea because it wasn't ready to end.
So it was just going to keep going.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't there. We weren't there yet. So I have no idea.
It was kind of heating up, though. Obviously, Piper destroys the set. Something was going to happen. Were you going to be on character or were you still going to be behind the camera?
No, that was not the plan, bro. The plan was not for me to be an on-air character. The powers that be was Sullivan's idea, and he got it from Seinfeld. And it was really Bischoff, who, bro, I don't want to say it was Bischoff's idea because I don't remember how the conversation went. But when I came back and started booking with Bischoff, bro, I didn't want to be an on-air character. Like, I didn't just write myself into the show. I didn't have any inspirations of being an on-air character. So I don't know if Bischoff suggested it. I don't know how it came about. I just know my mindset was when it did get brought up and discussed, my mindset was, man, if they're going to stay on my ass wanting ratings, I'll freaking go out there and do it myself. So I don't know if Bischoff proposed it. I don't remember exactly how it came up. But when you're talking about the powers that be, there was never a plan of me being on television.
So as far as the pay-per-view, WCW Souled Out 2000, January 16th, 2000, Cincinnati, Ohio, at the First Star Center. The attendance, 14,132. Wow. So awesome as far as the people attendance here in Cincinnati, and a hot crowd too, really good crowd. So 14,132. Control is everything. Who will be the sole survivor is the tagline. Pay-per-view buy rates 115, so down from Starrcade, but 115K. Not terrible, but not obviously ideal or what you want to do. So basically, before the pay-per-view starts, there's a quick intro video for Souled Out itself. We know Goldberg is hurt thanks to the Scott Hall stuff, and remember he punched a hole and ripped his arm open with he was supposed to have the pipe fell, and he decided to do it anyway, and almost lost an arm, almost lost a limb. Then we have Tony.
That's one of the things that, like, I swear to God, all the shit Bill Goldberg talks about me, and again, right, John never said anything to my face when we worked together. There was, nothing like that. And, John, I sat in the hospital with that dude all freaking night. When that happened with his hand, bro, I sat in that hospital with the guy all freaking. I've never heard Goldberg talk about that one freaking time. Not one time.
So obviously that Scott Hall got under his skin. Scott Hall's injured as well, and obviously he's not going to be a part. But it's just so interesting, all the different injuries going on. Goldberg, Hall, Bret, Jarrett. So Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Mike Tenay announce that Bret Hart has a concussion. He's out. They show the footage of the Goldberg kick. Then they show Jeff Jarrett, how he has a concussion, which is funny. They kayfabe it, and they said it was Benoit coming off the cage with a headbutt. Mm-hmm. But Jarrett even says it too. I've asked Jeff about it. He said it was Snuka, which you pointed out. Yep. And they say that there's going to be a lineup change, a big lineup change. Excuse me. Then they show footage of the pre-show. Conan is injured too. Revolution take him out of the game. So my God, not only is Bret, Jarrett, Hall, Goldberg hurt, Conan is hurt now as well.
But I got to tell you, the big one to me, bro, like, I swear the big one was Jeff, because Jeff was the workhorse. Jeff was the guy that never got hurt, and Jeff was the guy that I always could count on. That was the most severe blow, like, because he was the workhorse, man, and that was a tough one.
To me too. I'm trying to get back in WCW. Let's go here, big pay-per-view, and then it opens up. I'm like, no, 5 injuries. You're like, no, holy crap! Like, this is hard to come back from. And then you read, on the dirt sheets, like, Russo is gone. Russo went home. He took his ball and he went home. So everything is changing now. Sullivan is back in charge. So this is a weird, as a fan watching it, you're like, man, this sucks, so much going on. Then as you learn more about the business, there is so much more going on, because you're not even getting to finish your storylines here. You're gone.
Yeah, no, because we're going to bring in the dog in a couple of weeks.
Great gimmick, right? Great gimmick.
Yeah. I want you to know too, John, that in my absence, I did not watch one show.
Oh, so you're not even sure what they did, like, as far as ruining some of the stuff you set up or changing?
Absolutely not. I did not watch one single show in those 3 months. I didn't watch any wrestling. I wasn't watching. I didn't watch. John, can I tell you what I used to do? I swear to God, John, I got paid every 2 weeks. The day I would get my paycheck, I think it was like a Thursday every 2 weeks, bro, I would go out and wait at the mailbox for the postman. As long as the check was in the mail, I was 100% cool. So during those 3 months, I did not watch any wrestling whatsoever.
All right, so let's get back to the pay-per-view here, Vince. Let's talk about it. The pay-per-view, of course, is going to start off with some footage of Vampiro getting beat up by Crowbar and David Flair. Now they announced that match has changed. That's going to be a three-way dance. They also announced a triple threat theater featuring 3 matches with Billy Kidman: a dungeon match, which is a _𝐓𝐘𝐒 match, a steel cage match, and then a bunkhouse match as well, bunkhouse brawl. So Kidman seems to be going to be getting a big push here.
Is there a reason, though, why he's in 3 matches? Is there a reason?
Supposed to be triple threat theater, Benoit versus Jarrett, and they were supposed to have 3 different matches: the dungeon match, the bunkhouse match. Benoit's the dungeon match. That's his specialty, which means you can't leave the ring. It's going to be straight up wrestling, like nobody can go anywhere. Then you have the bunkhouse brawl, which is basically Jarrett's match. He just beat Dustin Rhodes in it. He's the king of the bunkhouse. He's that Southern wrestler like Dusty was. And then a steel cage was supposed to be the blow off. So instead of that, they decided to give Kidman this big push and put him in 3 different matches. No explanation for that, by the way, whatsoever.
Yeah.
And why Kidman, I don't know. And not to say anything bad about Conrad, because I love Conrad. He's a great guy, and I know him a little bit. He's super nice. But he was going off about Kidman, how Kidman had all this charisma and all this other stuff about Kidman. I'm thinking to myself, why is Sullivan, and I've talked to Sullivan about this before, and kind of we got into a little bit too, like, why are you pushing Kidman of all people? You know, it just, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you'll agree, but I just didn't see Kidman as like this big charismatic star who should be getting 3 matches, this big push.
Yeah, I agree. I would have to go back and look at who was healthy at the time. But I kind of agree when you say Kidman. Kidman was great to have on the roster. I mean,
yeah, but not like getting a big push or feud with Hogan or any bullshit like that. Hell no. Like what? That's nuts. But great, like mid card, upper mid card guy, having the roster could have a good match with a lot of different guys. But it's just strange here. So they start off with Dean Malenko. He's going to wrestle Kidman in a _𝐓𝐘𝐒 match, which is dungeon rules, which means you can't leave the ring. So this is weird, and I want to get some explanation on this from somebody, but I think I know what happened here. So Kidman defeats Malenko 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Malenko does what she does in a lot of his matches. He does this thing where he goes down and then skirts out to the floor, and with the wrist, and he's kind of getting himself reevaluated. You can't leave the ring. That's the gimmick. So the match is over, and Robinson, he comes back in, and Kidman goes, "Start it back up. Let's go." Robinson goes, "No, it's over. He left the ring." I would have just, like Malenko tried to do, started up. Like, no. There was a mistake, and let Kidman to be the babyface going, "No, let's start it up. I want to see who's better." They just end the match right then and there.
That's a
terrible.
Bro, I'm not going to sit here and John, I don't know anything that's on this pay-per-view, and I'm not going to sit here and rip this freaking pay-per-view. Obviously, what do I give a shit? I'm getting paid.
Right.
That's all that matters. I'm getting paid. But when you're laying this out to me, and again, I'm a writer, man, you're going to start the night that way? You want to do that later on in the evening, that's one thing, but this is going to be how you start the show? I don't know if I would have done that.
Now, I asked Sullivan, he said it was a brain fart by Malenko, but I said, even if it's a brain fart by Malenko, you're in Charles Robinson's ear.
Right,
just saying,
exactly.
No, the match has been restarted. Yeah. Because the crowd was like, what? Kidman, his reaction to winning the match was like, really? And Charles Robinson literally goes like, like, well, I don't know.
I definitely believe it was a brain fart. Like, I don't think Kevin's going to lie about that, but it's exactly what you said, bro. You got to be at that gorilla position, calling that freaking audible, man, right then and there. Yeah, because that's a really flat way to start the show.
And let's just say, like they're trying to do, like pump up Kidman here. He's going to have 3 matches in one night, triple threat theater. That's how he gets a win, like a bullshit, like heel-esque win here. Like,
and they're not going to be behind him after that.
No, they were confused. And this crowd is hot as hell. There's, like I said, there's over 14,000. They're nuts. They're loud as hell. This is like a great typical WCW crowd. It's funny when people like rip on WCW. They used to have the best crowd.
Oh, like, they were nuts. Bro, I noticed that all the time when people are ripping me and ripping shit, and then I'll see something and the people are going freaking nuts all the time.
Now, the only thing, maybe their security wasn't great because sometimes the crowd was so crazy they would just try to jump in the ring. You know what I mean? But the crowd itself was great. It was great. Then we have Vampiro with Scott Hudson. He has an interview randomly here. Masahiro Chono interrupts the interview with kind of no explanation, and he pushes Vampiro, and Vampiro pushes him back, and that's kind of the end of it. But Chono would be used on TV a little bit here, and he'd be brought in. But it's just so interesting. It's like, wow, Masahiro Chono randomly shows up to a pay-per-view with no, I don't know, no, what do you call it? Preamble, no build-up or whatever.
No fanfare.
Yeah.
That's a little weird.
I am a big fan of Masa Chono, but I just thought that was weird. And obviously him and Vampiro are going to get into it a little bit, but that's kind of it. And then they go to Mean Gene, and he's with Daphne, Flair, and Crowbar, and they all have little things to say. And Mean Gene uses the great line. He goes, "You three are sickos. Like you're three sick people."
Yeah.
They're like really trying to hammer it home, which is great because remember the old Jake Roberts where he goes, "You're a sick man, Jake Roberts."
Yeah.
You just believe everything Mean Gene says. Like, yeah, Mean Gene's right. These three are sick. There's something wrong with these three.
Yeah.
We get a video package, and then we get Vampiro defeating David Flair and Crowbar in a triple threat match. Daphne is out there as well, but he kind of uses them against each other. They're both nuts, and they kind of use them against each other. He uses Daphne, and he outsmarts them all, and he gets the win. So even though he's kind of in this triple threat match, and it seems like it's almost a handicap match, 2-on-1, Vampiro ends up getting the win.
Did they get heat on him afterwards?
Nope.
Yeah, I would have at least let them get their heat back.
They got none, and they were almost like confused with each other, like almost building some tension with each other, which doesn't really lead to anything. Not to jump ahead, it doesn't really lead to anything as far as it just leads to them kind of becoming closer. But you would think that because of the finish, that they would actually become tension, like they would break up or something. But no, it was actually leading them closer together, which was, I thought, kind of an odd finish. Like you said, they didn't keep David Flair or Crowbar strong, and David Flair took the 10.
They should have just given them the heat back at the end.
Yeah, like use the crowbar and beat him up or something.
Yeah.
Because it was 2-on-1, technically 3-on-1.
Yeah, that's weird. Yep.
Not a great match there. And it actually was kind of long, too, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So a long one there. Mean Gene is backstage with Big Vito, Johnny the Bull, Tony Marinara, and Disco Inferno. Disco is great. If you watch his facial expressions, he totally is pretending that he is like with them, but he does not like them at all and does not want to be with them.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I know, for some reason, I just love this group. I don't know. I know Tony Marinara wasn't there for long, but I was always a big Vito fan. I always thought he was kind of like a underappreciated or underrated worker a bit. And Johnny the Bull is green here, but you could tell man, this guy is athletic as hell. He's strong as hell. He looks like $1 million. Yep. I like the Mamalukes. I thought they were a good team.
Yeah, I did too. Yep.
Then we have the Mamalukes, Big Vito and Johnny the Bull with Disco, because Tony Marinara goes, I have some family business to take care of. Disco, you make sure that the Mamalukes do what they're supposed to do. So it seems like some things are not continuing that you started. This is definitely continuing.
I'll tell you exactly why this is continuing, because this, again, the politics of the business. Vito's probably my closest friend on the roster. So I guarantee you he was the one most upset that day than anybody. So no doubt, Sullivan, they're definitely trying to appease Vito. They got to win Vito over, because he was, I mean, him and I is still tight to this day. So that's why they're keeping that strong.
Man, he was good. And I love this tag team too, but it's interesting that the Mamalukes do get the win here in 9 minutes and 33 seconds over the Harris Boys in the tag match. But Disco reluctantly interfered, and it almost seemed like he was trying to cost the Mamalukes the match, because obviously he does not like them. But he ends up helping them win, so they think that he helped them win. But his facial expressions and his attitude, you could tell he did not want to help them. But he's like, okay, and then he kind of pats them on the back, like, yeah, that was supposed to happen. It was not supposed to. He was trying to hurt them, and they actually ended. But it worked in reverse, and he helped the Mamalukes win.
Yeah, got it.
So that I like. That seemed like a good storyline to kind of keep going. Like, he's interfering, he's reluctant, he's helping them, but their Mamalukes are going over, which I like.
Yeah, got it.
Then we have then we have Oklahoma having a promo which is great, which I kind of mentioned to you last week. He's talking about Ally McBeal. He's talking about Sarah McLachlan. He's saying, like, all you housewives out there listening to this crap, and you watch Ally McBeal all day, and like saying all this because he's making fun of Medusa because he has this feud with her, and he's saying it's Spice, and you guys should be, cooking and cleaning and watching Ally McBeal, and like just really funny stuff from Oklahoma. He's just, I don't know, he's so good on the mic, Ed.
He was the best, man. Ed's good, man. He's so talented at so many things, man. I mean, I think he's still teaching at Full Sail, I think, but God, he could do anything he wants to do.
It's crazy though when NXT was filming at Full Sail, because I was talking to Ed a little bit more at this point in time. I actually took and I mentioned this to you before. Took a couple classes with Ed around this time too. He actually came to New Jersey. Was teaching a couple classes. Man, he knows his stuff about like movies and writing and
that's
stuff.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's how I learn, man. That's how I learn, no doubt.
But he said no one anybody from WWE ever came down. He said, I'm pretty sure they know him here. He goes, no one ever came down and said anything to me. Like Triple H, nobody.
Yeah,
weird.
That's crazy. Yeah.
What a smart dude. But then we have Oklahoma defeating Medusa with Spice to win the Cruiserweight Championship. Asia even came down and tried to cheat to no avail. He pulls her tights, if you will, her bikini, if you will, and cheats and gets the win. He defeats Medusa in basically 3 minutes, so it's a short match. But the whole thing here is he's got the barbecue sauce, right? She, with Asia and Spice, to get their heat back, beat him up after the match, pour the barbecue sauce all over him, and pour it down his tight. So he wins. He's the Cruiserweight champion. Oklahoma's the Cruiserweight champion. Not Russo booking, by the way. This is Sullivan booking this, that Oklahoma won the Cruiserweight championship. Then they beat him up and pour barbecue sauce all over him, which obviously is making fun of JR.
He had done that before to her, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She hated that, bro. Oh my God, she'll still tell me today how much she hated that.
Well, she got a bit of revenge because she not only poured it on him, she poured it down his tights and then threw it at him too. So she got a bit of a measure of revenge. That seems like a storyline that you would have kept going. Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But again, they're trying to appease my buddy. I mean, Ed's my writing partner. You know, I mean, that's all politics, man. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, calm down the Russo guys so there's no, uprising. I mean, that's what they're trying to do.
Sullivan, by the way, really liked Ed. I know he didn't care for the Oklahoma gimmick per se, but he really liked Ed. But he kept the Oklahoma gimmick going. So obviously, that's something.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Yep.
Did you get along with Sullivan at this point, though, or you knew that he was kind of?
Oh no, I knew what he was doing, but I never didn't get along with him, bro. I mean, I had years and years and years later, I had Kevin Sullivan on my show. I mean,
you guys are friendly.
We had a great discussion. Bro, it's wrestling politics. I mean, that's what it is. That's what they know. That's what they do, man. That's why I didn't hold a grudge against him. I didn't hold a grudge against, JJ. That's wrestling, man.
Hey, his best buddy was Flair. I mean, they were close, and obviously Hogan was his boy. So I mean, he's even he was even said, sometimes you got to play politics, and sometimes you got to be the guy that is like the go-between for the other guys. Like, like if Hogan tells you something, like sometimes you got to do it because he's in power more than I'm in power. Sometimes you got to listen to guys that are in power.
Yeah. Yep.
It's political minefield out there. Then we have a Brian Knobbs interview, and Brian Knobbs will be wrestling in a 4-way match for the WCW Hardcore Championship. Knobbs, of course, is the champ at this point. He's now the Hardcore Champion. He defeats Finlay, Ming, and Norman Smiley in the 4-way to retain the title. The match went about 6 minutes, 10 seconds. Knobbs, Hardcore Champion. Do you like Knobbs as your Hardcore Champion?
How did Norman lose the title?
I'm trying to remember how it was on a Thunder, and the typical like hardcore match went all over the place, and Knobbs ended up getting the win. I don't remember if he cheated or not, if he just straight up beat him, because that's like Knobbs' forte, a hardcore match.
Yeah, I mean, I love Brian Knobbs, and he's always been good to me. And he was a Hogan guy, and I never ever had an issue with that guy. But I don't know if I would have went with him. I don't know. Not that I have anything against him. I just don't know.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like he's more of like the Sullivan guy, and that's like the direction he's going. He's trying to put his guys,
Possible. Yeah, yeah. That's very, very, very possible.
because the Norman stuff was hilarious. I would have
Oh,
kept it
absolutely. Yep.
going with Norman.
Yep.
What's up next year? Billy Kidman. The next match in the Triple Threat Theater is a bunkhouse brawl. Billy Kidman defeats Perry Saturn in 10 minutes. This was an okay match, but basically he kind of just straight up beats. I know they used tables and weapons and stuff, but he basically straight up beat Saturn here and in a 10-minute match. So he's 2-0. He beat Malenko and he beat Saturn here. What do you think about the push of Billy Kidman?
Well, again, bro, I don't know how much. I don't know what these guys' attitude is backstage because I'm not there. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like if Perry spoke up, if Perry said anything, I don't know. Maybe that's why they beat him like that. I don't know, bro, because I was not back there that day. Bro, I've never even asked anybody what the environment was, that day. So again, bro, I have no idea their reasoning behind any of this.
When I don't know, when certain guys get pushed, just as a fan, you're like not skeptical, but you're just like, I wonder what's going on here. Kidman, to me, Kidman was like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah.
There's always a reason you don't know about, bro. Always.
Now, Benoit, on the other hand, one of the biggest Benoit fans ever as far as in ring. I mean, forget about the other crazy stuff that he did. I'm just saying when he was wrestling, I would love Benoit so I could see that. But Kidman, I just can't.
Yeah.
Like the Hogan feud, I just can't wrap my head around this push here. But Stevie Ray has a video. This is actually really good. He's in the streets. He's talking about how Booker T's a sellout and how he's still in touch with the streets. And he's literally in the streets. He went to this homeless place. He's saying this is where they grew up. And this is what, he's still in touch with these people. And Booker T's a snob now. And, obviously pumping it up that he's feuding with his brother. His brother's turned his back on the streets. So then we have a Stevie Ray interview. Then we have a Booker T interview. And then that leads to the match here. So Booker T with Midnight will defeat Stevie Ray by DQ in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Why DQ? Big T. Ahmed Johnson comes out, beats the hell out of Booker. Here's the interesting part, though. And I could tell, obviously, that you're not booking this. Midnight was beating up men. She was feuding with men. She's wrestling with men. She's not interfering in this match at all. She's afraid to get in the ring when Big T is in the ring. Yeah, so I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like they're literally, not that she should, because he would literally kill her limb from limb if they Big T, Ahmed Johnson, he's a gigantic guy. They just, you could tell it's like, okay, they didn't like this. She basically was a wimp. Like she was like Miss Elizabeth, just standing there. Like, don't beat up Macho.
That's the good old boy network and how they look at women, man. No question about it. Definitely a major change there.
Stevie literally goes, come on. And, Big T's, Stevie's huge. Big T's even bigger than him at this point. I mean, he's just gigantic. He's just like, come on. And she won't do it. So I was like, wow, she was clotheslining the Harris twins. And,
is this the last time you see her?
I was actually thinking about that. I'm going to have to look. This might be one of her last appearances because I don't remember seeing her much after this.
I would not be surprised at all.
Oh, man, you could just tell what's going on there. But obviously now we're feuding here. Big T, if you will, is feuding with Booker. So we have the new Harlem Heat of Stevie Ray and Ahmed Johnson. Do you like that?
God, bro, I swear to God, I didn't even know Stevie and Booker had a match. I mean, I didn't even know, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind that.
I'm just not a big fan of brothers feuding. I don't know why. Like you're fighting. Sometimes it's just.
I agree with
unless it's Bret and Owen, I'm just not interested really for the most part.
Yeah.
Like Hardy versus Hardy, I didn't really care for. Booker versus Stevie, Rick versus Scott. It's just like some of them I just even I know they're not brothers, but Hall versus Nash, never liked that. It just I don't know. Doesn't jive for whatever reason. Then we have a Sid promo talking about later on in the evening what's going to happen with him and his match and the world title, which is now vacant, which we obviously know it's Benoit and Sid for the title. Then we have Tank Abbott versus Jerry Flynn. Interesting. I know you're thinking that this is going to be on a pay-per-view with Jerry Flynn here, but they do still kind of pump up Tank Abbott. He beats Jerry Flynn in 1 minute and 39 seconds with a knockout. Just basically, and you can see his wrestling background because he actually was an amateur wrestler, Tank.
Yeah.
So he actually could wrestle a little bit. Not his forte, obviously, but he does throw him around quite a bit with the wrestling. Then knocks him out and just literally knocks him out cold. And like, that's the end. And it's like, whoa, Tank Abbott with the knockout. So Tank gets the win here. Obviously not to your level of pushing him to the world title, but he is getting a win by a knockout, so they are giving him a bit of a push.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Do you think that I don't know, I guess you'd say the establishment, the Hogans, the Flair, whoever of the world, got in Sullivan's ears and were like, "Don't push him to the title. I don't want."
Yeah, I'm sure they had a problem with a UFC guy. I'm no question about that, bro. I'm sure they, he's from a different world, and plus the fact that he is legit and they're not. I'm sure there was some of that. I'm sure there was.
It's interesting. Like Undertaker has said, he wanted a legit guy to beat the streak. Like I know he's kind of changed his mind over the course of period. And he kind of went back and forth, like, oh, maybe Lesnar shouldn't have broke it. But he was saying he was comfortable with it because he's a legit guy. Like if you lose to Lesnar, that's legit. Those guys didn't have that mindset back then for some reason.
Yeah, no, bro, absolutely not. Nope.
Like if you like Punk or whoever, you lose a match to Lesnar or Cody, you lose a match to Lesnar. It's like, well, you lost to Lesnar. Like this guy, he would legit kick your ass.
Absolutely.
If this were
Shamrock,
real.
Shamrock. Yeah. I mean, yeah, man, totally. Yep.
It's interesting, different mindset. It was almost like back then. It was like this guy is coming from this world into our business.
It's a threat. It's a threat. Yeah. They're a threat to them, bro, and they don't like threats, man. They always you know how they protect their spots, and they don't like that.
Especially when you think about Lesnar after he won the UFC World Championship, it's like, man, he was a UFC champion. Of course, he could be WWE champion. You know what I mean? Like he's a legit shooter. He's a legit guy.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Crazy they didn't have that thought about Tank.
Yeah.
Then we have a video package, and we have Buff Bagwell and Diamond Dallas Page in a last man standing match. This is where I feel like a lot of your booking would come into play here. So Kimberly, who literally still looks good to this day, but here looked like $1 million. Like she looks phenomenal. The whole feud is kind of wrapped around her. She's been seen spotted with Buff. They're doing shoot promos back and forth, kind of all like how DDP and her maybe don't have a great relationship, how Buff and her are great friends. Buff's talking about a birthmark that you can't see on Kimberly when she comes out to the ring, hinting that you've seen it in the bedroom. You know what I mean? Then DDP goes, "Oh yeah, you're lying about the birthmark." He goes, "Well, then ask every boy in the back about the birthmark because they've seen it too." Like a lot of like shoot stuff and obviously work shoot stuff between DDP and Buff, but a lot of it like hinting about Kimberly and DDP's relationship not being great, and also hinting that Buff basically sleeps around with a lot of the women.
Bro, do you know? Prior to this, I do remember this. We had who I think it was Paige. Bro, we had Paige attack Buff in catering just to make the boys believe this was a shoot. Did you know that?
Right. They would do a lot of stuff. Yeah, they would do a lot of stuff.
I remember that. Yep. Not on camera, totally off camera.
Oh, no, I didn't know. Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally off camera, just for the boys to believe that something was going on between these two.
Wow. Because DDP basically, it's like, a lot of the girls like him. And he goes, but so do the guys. And like hinting that he's gay. And like a lot of shoot stuff between them.
Yeah, we have legit DDP attack him in catering, legitimately fighting catering.
Funny because obviously they're boys or whatever, but they did hint a lot. And Kimberly, and they're interviewing Kimberly about it, and she's saying, "Oh, we're just friends." But yes, we do. We have been spending time together. People did see us out together, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
And really going back and forth, and then Buff saying, "Well, she wouldn't need to be meeting out with me if you had a better relationship." And it was a lot of shoot comments back and forth between the two.
Bro, I remember going to Page's, man. Bro, Page insisted one night I go to his house for creative, and I didn't want to go, and he lived in some exclusive part, I did not want to go. But I remember going there, bro. And in the middle of the freaking living room was like a stripper pole. And I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
can you imagine Kimberly just like, unbelievable. Yeah.
So then Buff Bagwell defeats DDP in the last standing match. The match goes about 11 minutes. Actually, a pretty good match. I liked it. After the match, DDP does get his heat back and it attacks him afterwards. Buff tries to like kind of fight him off and kind of, get some measure of revenge for the whole feud, but Buff does get the win. DDP makes the attack afterwards. Kimberly even distracts Buff afterwards, kind of cementing her place with DDP.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So as far as the Wall is concerned, he is the one that's going to be facing Billy Kidman in the steel cage match. Why randomly the Wall? I have no idea. I know Kevin liked him a lot and I liked him a lot, but it just seemed like out of nowhere.
Yeah, I hate random stuff like that. You got to try to make some sense out of it, bro. You have to try. And bro, they did the same thing this freaking past Monday night. Like the last time we saw Rock and Cody, freaking Rock was beating Cody up with his own tour bus. That was the last time we saw them together, and now he's putting Cody over. And I'm like, you guys got to at least try to make some sense out of this, man.
Did you see NXT the next night?
I didn't see, but I heard about it.
He said he's 20 steps ahead. So is Cody being the naive, dumb baby face and The Rock is tricking him? Like, what's going on? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably as a shoot. Probably. Yes.
Yeah, as a shoot. Yeah. Like, oh, I come in peace. Let's drink some whatever. Yeah, as a shoot.
Probably, man. Yeah.
Well, he got the win over Cody. Remember at Mania, so he's got the last laugh. So
yeah, it's just
maybe maybe that's old school politics there.
Yeah, it's weird, bro.
So then we have the Wall gets the win over Kidman in the steel cage match, doesn't cheat or anything. So the final match in the Triple Threat Theater, Kidman, who seemed like he was feuding with the Revolution. So I know Shane Douglas was injured at this point, but I don't know. You would think like 1, 2, 3, Shane would have been the leader of the Revolution. That would have been like the last match of it, but Shane's not even at the pay-per-view. He's injured too.
Yeah.
But the Wall randomly gets the win over Kidman after this whole thing, which logically speaking, if you're locked in the cage with this guy who's 6'7" and you're 5'7", obviously he's going to kill you, but still, decent match or whatever, but he gets the win. The Wall defeats Kidman. So I guess not pushing Kidman. I'm just very confusing, like the thought process.
Yeah, bro, they're just trying to plug. They just plugged Kidman in. They did. Bro, I don't want to say they didn't put much thought into it because they didn't have much time. They didn't have. I mean, I just walked a day or two before, man. So they didn't really have much time.
The whole thing with the Triple Threat Theater was the same 2 wrestlers in 3 different matches, not the same 1 wrestler in 3 different matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they could have somehow.
It was the old. Bro, I tell you exactly where I got it from. I got it from Mick Foley, Eddie Gilbert. I mean, that's exactly where I got it from. That's what it was supposed to be.
Right. And even, WWF did it obviously after this, but they did a great one with Austin and Triple H.
Yeah.
No Way Out 2001. Like they would have the straight up match, then the hardcore match, and the cage match. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was 3 different falls with 3 different things. You kind of, they raised the stakes each time. And that's what Benoit.
That's such a gamble, bro, because if somebody gets hurt in one of those matches, like you're screwed. That's why they really got to be careful the way they work them.
Yes, definitely. So the Wall here randomly is getting a bit of a push here as he defeats Kidman. Then we have a video package for Kevin Nash and Terry Funk. If Nash wins his match with Funk, he's the commissioner of WCW. If Funk wins the match, the NWO is disbanded. So the Old Age Outlaws were feuding with the NWO here. So you had Arn Anderson, who wasn't really going to wrestle, but he's kind of a part of the group. Arn Anderson, Paul Orndorff, Larry Zbyszko, and Terry Funk, the Old Age Outlaws. Funny name, obviously, there. I got to be honest, Funk could still go at this point.
Oh, God. He's a freak. He was a freak, bro. Freak.
So, I was reading this review about this pay-per-view online just because I love to get what other people's opinions are. I don't put any stock into it because I don't really care, but I just love reading people's reviews of things, even movies. Like a movie that I like, I'm like, oh, I want to read what Pierce said. And I was like, wow, they didn't like it. And then you read their comment, and it's funny. This one guy, I think, damn it, I forget what website he was from, but he said this pay-per-view was terrible. There was no good matches, blah, blah. Then I was like, okay, let me watch it. I watched, I actually literally watched it live. I taped it. Back in the day, I used to, beg my dad so we can order the pay-per-view. We ordered it, but I watched it again. I was like, wow, I remember Nash versus Funk being good. It was really good. So Kevin Nash defeats Funk in a hardcore match in 8 minutes. Funk is bleeding like crazy. They're using tables and weapons. He goes literally in the first 2 minutes of the match. Funk gets powerbombed through a table. Like
Yeah.
it's like, whoa! Like I thought this guy said this match sucked. It's like he's wrong on this one.
Yeah.
Really good match. Nash gets the win. He's now the commissioner of.
I like that.
WWC.
I like that. I don't mind that at all.
Is that where you were headed?
I don't think so. I don't think so, bro. Like I wouldn't have even known that unless you told me. I don't mind that at all.
Another funny thing is, for whatever reason, it's pay-per-view, so you can zoom in on blood and whatever. But whenever there was blood in WCW in the pay-per-view, they always take the cameras back, and even the handhelds, they move them back a little bit, like they're not zooming in. But you literally, Funk is like a fountain. He's covered in blood, but they don't want to zoom in. I don't know. It's pay-per-view. Who cares?
Yeah,
and Nitro, I remember when that would happen, they would zoom all the way out.
Yeah.
But it's strange. A pay-per-view. I paid for this.
Well, I mean, TV, that's standards and practices.
Yeah,
but pay-per-view is pay-per-view.
So very interesting here. Nash beats Funk. I think that the great part to me is like, wow, in 2000, Funk is still having good matches, and with Nash of all people having good matches.
Crazy,
like I love that.
Yeah.
Then we see in the back, Chris Benoit and Sid, separately, but collectively in this video package, are getting ready and preparing for their WCW title match later on. So they're trying to build it up, trying to build up the level of importance. Then we have Arn Anderson backstage with Scott Hudson. He says he's the referee for the match, and he's holding the vacant title. He said, circumstances what they are. Sid is the best wrestler right now, which is so funny. He's like really pumping these guys up. Sid is the best wrestler right now. Benoit is one of the best. These are the two best guys, and they're going to go out. Like he's really, really trying to build up the level of importance of this match. And it's funny too. He almost screws up his words, right? Which Arn never does. He's the best promo guy. But the way he words it is so good and so masterful. He goes, give me a second here. He goes, I got to collect my thoughts here because this is a huge moment. He goes, and Nash just won that match, and that's thrown me off. And like I was like, wow, even in like a quote unquote screw up, like he made it like that. He was like upset. And I was like, wow, he nailed that. He actually made the promo better because he screwed up his words a little bit.
That's awesome. He's a pro.
Yeah,
that's
he's
awesome.
so good.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's like a cold, random, vacant match, but he's making you actually be like, yeah, you're right. These are the two best wrestlers. Yeah, I am into it.
Yeah, he's talking people into the house. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Let's be honest here, though. Are you into this match at Benoit versus Sid for the vacant title? Are you, as a fan, into this right now?
No, because it's makeshift, man. It's just coming out of nowhere. And I understand it, bro. They did, like I said, man, when I was hit with all these injuries, I did not have the time to put a longer plan into place. I just had to get through the next TV, and that's the mode they're in here, man. Let's just get through this.
So Chris Benoit defeats Sid Vicious via submission with the crippler crossface in about 15 minutes to win the vacant WCW World Heavyweight title. The interesting part here, though, is Sid had the win, right? He had the finish. He nails Benoit, goes for the pin. Benoit's foot is under the rope. Arn sees that and says, nope. Even though Benoit would have been out for the count, he says, nope. Then he tells Sid, no. He's like, it was only a 2. His foot was under the rope. Benoit gets up and gets Sid in the submission in the crippler crossface. Sid then has his foot under the rope, but also taps out. Even though his foot was under the rope, he tapped out. So who knows if he was submitting because he knew his foot was under the rope or if he was just submitting from the pain. But that's how Benoit won, except this time Arn didn't see the foot under the rope.
Yeah,
so he saw for Benoit, didn't see it for Sid.
Bro, no foot. Bro, I've never in a million years would I ever had Sid tap out. Never, ever, 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 ever.
Interesting thing is, too, we've talked about the 2 pay-per-views with Goldberg. He refused to give up twice to Goldberg.
That's what I'm saying.
But he gave up to Benoit here.
That's never in a million. Man, Sid couldn't have liked that. Never would I have had that guy tap out, man, ever.
And it's funny because he kind of taps out immediately. You can tell, like, he taps out and, he was, like, annoyed.
Yeah, bro, because again, these guys are unhappy and they're trying to make them happy. And they really felt that putting the belt, everything was going to be fine if we put the belt on Benoit. But those guys aren't freaking stupid. You know, that's not gonna make everything fine, everything hunky dory. So those guys jump ship anyway, and now you wind up really hurting Sid like that. I would have never in a million years had that dude tap out.
And man, Sid's got to be pissed that next day because they
Yeah,
had to convince him to do it, and then the guy leaves with the title.
yeah. Yep.
Just want to mention this. Michael Buffett is the intro, kind of adds to the importance. Then they do the thing where like UFC does, and really a copy different boxing. Boxing does it, where you interview the ref, and the ref's kind of giving the instructions. So Arn gets the instructions. So they're really building this up as like a really big heavyweight fight. Then as the match is going on, all the wrestlers start to come out of the back from the locker room, and they're watching the match. And Shivani's like, "Wow, this is the level of importance that everyone wants to know who their next WCW champion is." So thinking about all this and how important it is, and Benoit wins. He's like crying with the belt. He kisses the belt. He's the world champion. It's like this big moment. He's a champion. Kind of controversially, because Sid's foot definitely was under the rope, but he did tap out. Arn did see Benoit's foot, didn't see Sid's foot. So a little bit of controversy there. He's the champion, but not only all that, Benoit's so happy to be the champion, he ends up walking out anyway.
Yeah. No, bro, listen, the way you make it sound, it sounds like a very, very, very creative finish. I understand that, but like I said, man, under no circumstance, creative finish or not, would I ever have had a guy like Sid tap out, never.
Got to be honest, the match was pretty good too. And I know him and Benoit have had good matches before, obviously with Sid going over, but they've had good matches before. Good match. I liked it.
Good.
So after that, though, after basically, Benoit wins, and he celebrates. They go to the back, and Mean Gene is with Benoit. Benoit cuts a promo about being the world champion. Actually, really good. You could tell it's from the heart how he literally was a fan since he was 9 years old. He was a fan. Why? Dynamite Kid. That's his love of the business because of Dynamite. Obviously, wrestles like Dynamite. And he said, everybody said I was too small. But you know what? Somebody told me, don't worry about what you can't do. Worry about what you can do. And I looked at that and became the best I could be at what I could do. I'm the best technical wrestler in the world. So good promo here from Benoit. Arn comes up and congratulates him on winning the championship, says you're the best wrestler in the world. Nash comes over, has a funny line about how he's a turd and that he's going to flush him down the toilet and that he's the commissioner. And kind of a little bit of foreshadowing. He goes, hope you're happy because in 24 hours, I don't think you're going to be champion anymore. Not knowing anything about him walking out. It's a little bit of foreshadowing by Nash.
But did he know?
Oh, good point. Maybe. Yeah. He said, I'm going to make your life a living hell. And then Benoit goes from one little turd to one big turd. Good luck.
How did they explain those guys walking out?
They never do. They basically.
So those guys, we come Monday and those guys are gone.
We have a situation here. There's the vacant title is vacant again, and they said it's because Sid's foot was under the rope. That the whole thing is, though, if Sid passes out and his foot's under the rope, okay, they admit that's a good point but he still tapped out. So they made him look weak, and now they're doing the vacant title thing all over again. Nash is saying that he vacated the title because of it. Arn, he's saying, did a bad job in the match as a referee. Sid says he should be the rightful champion. No, he shouldn't. He tapped out. So it was a cluster. It did not look good.
So who wound up getting the belt?
Eventually Sid gets it again. Then Nash gets it again, and then Sid. It's a cluster. The booking is just terrible. It's bad.
Yeah. I never saw any of that, bro. That whole 3 months, I've never seen any of that.
Nash inserts himself into the title picture because he's the commissioner. And really, if you think about it, he had a lot of influence as the booker too. But it gets so convoluted because Benoit won the title. Like if Sid would have just won, it would have been hunky dory, and who cares if he's gone? But since Benoit won, Sid looks so weak after that.
See, bro, that you got to be so careful because if those guys were hot that night, if they were really upset and really mad that night, and you're trying to appease them by giving Benoit the belt, you also had to know that, were they going to walk? You had to take that into consideration. You know what I mean? But like I said, man, I wasn't there. I don't know what the temperature was in the back. But yeah, one thing I definitely, whether you're beat and sit or not, you can't have a guy like that tap out. That's like having Goldberg tap out.
So he vacates the title. He leaves to go to the WWF. He literally hands him the title at the office, and they accept it, and they let him quit and walk out. They really don't give them a 90 days can't compete thing. I mean, they're the radicals. Benoit, Saturn, Malenko, and Eddie are really going to be on WWF TV right away. And here's the kicker, which I mentioned to Sullivan, and he totally agreed. He said losing Benoit and Eddie was huge because usually guys didn't jump except a Big Show and Jericho. And he said those were big losses. He said this was even bigger because and we were talking about this. Austin was hurt at this point, so they needed like an influx of something. I know they didn't give Benoit and those guys a big push, but they needed something like an influx of talent, and they were hot. So how do you keep it hot? We have 4 guys here from WCW. Oh, by the way, the one guy is the champion, and they're showing up. So I mean, that was a huge blow to WCW. That killed them.
Oh yeah, that's why, bro. Like I said, man, I knew like the first 3 months, me and Ed were starting to build. We were doing everything we wanted to do. When I went back 3 months later, I knew we're never going to get the people back. Now we were, we had a plan in place. We were going down that road. We were doing exactly what we wanted to do. Then for 3 months, they just blow the whole thing up. I knew, bro, there was no way we were getting those viewers back. I knew it.
Just a quick little blurb before we end. I got this from online. They said creative writers Vince Russo and Ed Ferraro are not involved in the scripting of the show, as Russo stepped down days before after being told by management that he'd have to work with a creative team rather than write the show by himself along with Ed Ferraro. Prior to this evening, the creative direction from basically October 18th, 1999 had been drastically different, with the focus on development of storylines and younger stars due to the involvement of these creative writers. So that's just in a nutshell. We're going completely different direction here.
I'm sure though Ed was still involved in the creative when I left.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's Oklahoma. He's on the show, so he's still involved. Yeah. He was actually still involved till the day WCW died. Basically, he was still there, so he still had a good relationship with Sullivan.
Yeah, that's Johnny where. I was. Bro, like that's where Ed and I had a little bit of a falling out, and it was my fault. It wasn't Ed's fault, but it was a hard pill for me to swallow at the time that, I went through what I went through and I went home, and I was the guy who brought Ed in and Ed stayed, rather than, that at that time, that was a very, very hard pill for me to swallow, man.
I can see that.
But we're cool. I mean, we're, to this day, Ed and I are buddies, so everything's cool.
Nice. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Head towards the plugs. Follow me at Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Vince, where can everybody follow?
Yeah, guys, get a free week of Russo's brand. Costs you absolutely nothing. Go to patreon.com/Russo TWC. Try us out. I guarantee you'll like us.
Vince, just real quick, because this is hilarious. Not really hilarious, but I know some people will think that something else was going to happen. But as we're doing this, somebody just sent this to me. Vince McMahon settled the lawsuit, $1.7 million. Vince writes, the case is closed. Today ends nearly 3 years of investigation by different governmental agencies. There has been a great deal of speculation about what exactly the government was investigating and what the outcome would be. As of today's resolution shows, much of the speculation was misguided and misleading. In the end, there was never anything more to this than minor accounting errors with regard to some personal payments that I made several years ago while I was the CEO of WWE. I'm thrilled that I can now put this all behind me.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. 1.7 million. That's it.
That's nothing. And how quickly will Vince be back in the game, man? Wow. I said that all along. I said if they settle, it's just a matter of how quickly and how he's going to be back in the game immediately. Bro, can you imagine Vince getting that like a Monday night wrestling spot with a new company? Can you imagine?
I heard that he's already got this other company going, like
Yeah.
entertainment
Yeah.
company going.
Wow.
But yeah,
That's
look at that. Yeah, look at
bro.
Vince. I
God.
thought that he would be in some sort of trouble here. That doesn't seem bad at all.
Nah, bro. I thought because his lawyers were doing everything they could for a settlement. They were doing everything. But God, bro, 1.7 to me is peanuts.
And he had to pay back WB some of the stuff too. But I love the way he worded minor accounting
Oh
error.
yeah. Oh man. Now it's going to get interesting, bro. Especially if there is really heat between like him, Stephanie, and Triple H, which I really believe there is, without a shadow of a doubt. I think there is. God, it's going to get interesting. It just really depends, bro. Like Vince's age. You know what I mean, bro? Who knows like how he is mentally, physically. God, if Vince was in his prime right now, he would be out for blood. I just don't know if he still has that in him at his age.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that to you because I just
That's
saw that pop up. I
interesting.
was like,
Yeah,
wow.
wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it says that through the SEC, they allege that McMahon did not disclose a $3 million payment, a former employee, and then another $7.5 million payment. So all in total, all this stuff that they were looking into, it just ended up being 1.7 million basically that he has to pay back the hush money agreements. He will have to, and he agreed to pay back. So they agreed on it, and that's the number that they came up with. So I feel like that's got to be a huge win.
Oh,
Like you said,
oh
he's gonna
yeah.
put this behind him.
Bro, $1.7 million to Vince is like freaking $1,000 to us. I mean, that's not the money he in selling all that stock. The dude's a billionaire. That's a drop in the bucket, man.
The government couldn't get him again.
Yeah.
Remember they were trying to get him, and everyone's saying he's going to go to jail and he's going to do this. They couldn't get him again.
Wow, it's going
They
to be
missed out.
interesting, bro, because now he's going to come back out. Now we're going to see interviews. We're going to hear him talk.
Yeah,
Good. I love that stuff. He gives us content, man. I love it.
yeah.
Love it.
And I hate to say this, but it is true. Janelle Grant is going to there's going to be a smear campaign. I guarantee
Oh,
she's going to end up being
definitely.
run through the mud big time.
Absolutely, bro. No question about it. Wow, interesting. I got to go see if I could find anything on that right now.
I wanted to mention it because somebody just sent to me. I'm like, oh my god, what? That's
Yeah,
perfect person to mention it to. So
crazy.
perfect.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you everybody for tuning in. See you right back here next time for the next podcast. See you next time, folks.